From Maine Public Radio and MainePublic.org, I'm Jennifer Mitchell with the news on This Day in Maine, Wednesday, August 11th, 2021.
This Day in Maine is made possible by listeners and by the Maine law firm of Eaton Peabody, serving generations of Maine families and businesses from offices in Augusta, Bangor, Brunswick, Ellsworth, and Portland.
The number of new coronavirus cases reported in Maine continues to climb. The Maine CDC reported another 217 infections today. That's brought the 7-day average of new cases to 148, its highest point in more than 2 months. No additional deaths were reported today, but there has been an uptick in hospitalized COVID-19 patients. 60 Mainers are hospitalized with the disease today. 28 are in critical care and 13 on ventilators. Waldo County General Hospital says cases of COVID-19 among 8 of its staff members do not appear to be linked. In a press release, hospital officials say an exposure outside of work has been identified in most, if not all, cases. Waldo County has been identified by the U.S. CDC as an area of high transmission for the past 2 weeks. Its positivity rate is just under 11. That's more than 3 times the state average. The hospital says several staff who tested positive are fully vaccinated, but the cases disproportionately affect staff who have not received a vaccine. Just weeks after announcing that COVID-19 vaccinations would be optional, Thomas College in Waterville is changing course. In a message released this morning, President Lori LaChance says with cases rising dramatically and new evidence that vaccinated people can also spread the virus, the college felt it necessary to mandate students and staff to receive the shots. The college says vaccination cards showing at least partial vaccination must be submitted to the school before arriving on campus at the end of the month. Students who are partially vaccinated at Thomas College must continue to follow protocols, including testing and indoor masking, until they're fully vaccinated. The decision comes on the heels of several other colleges in the state mandating vaccinations, including the University of Maine system and Bowdoin and Bates colleges as well. A heat advisory is in effect for all of southern Maine, as well as a big swath up the state's interior and Aroostook County as well. At least 24 cooling centers and counting are listed on the Maine Emergency Management Agency website for those who might need a place to get in out of the heat. An air quality alert is also up along the coast. We'll have more on the weather in just a few minutes here. A man who allegedly struck and killed 2 people as they waited outside a restaurant in Waterboro late last month has been charged with 2 counts of manslaughter. 64-year-old Charles Stoddard of Waterboro is being held at the York County Jail on $50,000 cash bail. According to the York County Sheriff's Office, Stoddard is expected to face some additional charges, including aggravated operation of a motor vehicle under the influence and possession of a Schedule W drug. Killed in the crash on July 31st were 45-year-old Mark Shepis and 12-year-old Luke Stevenson, both of Waterboro. Police say they've been sitting outside the sign for the Cozy Corner Cafe waiting to be seated when Stoddard's vehicle left the roadway and struck the 2 of them, along with a pickup truck that was exiting the parking lot. Stoddard was taken to a hospital and later released. The Maine Legislature's Government Oversight Committee has directed its watchdog agency to investigate practices of the state's child protective system following the recent deaths of several children in its care. Steve Missler has more.
The committee voted unanimously to task the Office of Program Evaluation and Government Accountability to break its investigation into 3 phases and reports. The first is due January 15th and will try to determine if the Child Protection Division has adequate and effective oversight. Parts 2 and 3 will review how the state is protecting children during its initial review of living situations and child safety after kids are reunified with their parents or caretakers. Both of those parts will be due later in 2022. Lawmakers were hoping for a faster turnaround in the probe, but because the inquiry will review recent deaths of children, it will likely be delayed by ongoing prosecutions by the State Attorney General's office. For Maine Public Radio News, I'm Steve Missler.
Maine Independent Senator Angus King and two Democratic colleagues, Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Don Beyer of Virginia, have introduced a plan to collect federal tax money from some of the wealthiest corporations in the country. The proposal would levy a 7% tax on each dollar of so-called book income. That's the profit that's reported to investors rather than the taxable figures shown to the IRS. The tax would only kick in after the first $100 million in reported book income profits. King has long been a critic of the country's complex tax code and loopholes, which enable a company to dramatically and legally lower its tax bill through write-offs and deductions. Famously, in 2018, Amazon reported $11 billion in profits to shareholders but paid no income tax to the IRS. King says in a statement that corporations' failure to pay taxes has added to the nation's rising debt. July sales of adult-use marijuana have again broken records with more than $9.4 million in retail sales. That's about $3 million more than in June. Sales have steadily increased month after month since the first recreational marijuana products went on sale last October. According to the latest Office of Marijuana Policy report, buds and other plant parts account for more than $5 million of the July sales, with the rest of the revenue split between concentrates such as vape products and other items such as topicals and edibles. The state reports that July's sales generated more than $943,000 in tax revenue. Now, the Maine CDC is advising that people take steps to avoid exposure to bats, which are most active in August and September. Bats can spread viruses such as rabies and may not have any visible symptoms. The CDC says it can be difficult to tell if a human or pet has been exposed, but examples include awakening to a bat in a bedroom or finding a bat in a room with an unaccompanied child, incapacitated adult, or pet. If exposure is suspected, the CDC advises calling a healthcare provider. The agency also has resources on its website for how to safely remove the bat. And we're in for kind of a hot, sticky couple of days pretty much all over the state. Time now to check the weather forecast with meteorologist Paul Cousins.
As the warm front eventually exits eastern Maine overnight, any lingering showers and thunderstorms will collapse. Varying amounts of cloudiness will remain. Dense fog will sweep ashore once again east of Casco Bay. Patchy fog elsewhere. Very muggy and stuffy. 63 to 71, coolest down east, warmest near the York Tolls. Tomorrow and Friday, the morning fog will burn off much more rapidly, followed by hazy, hot, and oppressively humid weather in nearly all locales. A few afternoon thunderstorms inland likely tomorrow only, and overnight statewide. Friday rain-free. Highs near 80 along the down east coast to the mid-90s interior south. Saturday will be mostly cloudy throughout northern Maine, partly sunny farther south. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will erupt once again, the focus during the afternoon. Still oppressively humid for all but the northern third of the state, 74 to 88 north to south. Sunday, far more comfortable statewide thanks to a cool front sweeping the sultriness offshore, partly cloudy from top to bottom, 71 to 80 north to south. This is meteorologist Paul Cousins for Maine Public.
And that's today's Maine news. For more stories, visit mainepublic.org. Coming up on Maine Calling tomorrow at 11, join us for a discussion on the organic movement in Maine. I'm Jennifer Mitchell. Thanks for listening.